A millionaire CEO walked in on his nanny, solving a $300 million problem in seconds. What happened afterward changed the entire company. Before the story begins, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And once you reach the end, rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy! William Moore's phone rang for the third consecutive time, and this time he answered before even checking who it was. "I'm coming down. Stay on the line." His tone carried the flat, unyielding quality of a man who had stopped accepting questions years ago. He stood, walked out his office, left the door slightly open, and abandoned his laptop on the desk, the screen still glowing blue with rows of code crawling across it. Across the hallway, Sophia noticed Oliver's forgotten backpack. His tablet charger was still on William's desk. She hesitated, glanced around, and slipped in quickly, intending only to grab the charger before anyone noticed. But what filled the laptop screen stopped her where she stood. Lines of code, sprawling and disorganized, the logic scattered in a way that made her wince on instinct. The charger sat right there beside the keyboard, easily within reach. She should have grabbed it and left. Instead, the screen seemed to be calling out for help. "Good Lord, this is terribly built," she muttered, eyebrow lifting. Without deciding to, she sat down, leaned in. The problem revealed itself almost immediately. A poorly positioned loop choking the main function, sending the data queue spiraling back into itself. A textbook mistake. Still on autopilot, she began typing, her fingers moving across the keys with a speed that didn't match the assumption most people made about her. Her expression was calm, focused, the look of someone who had done this before, many times, though almost no one in this house knew that. She restructured the architecture, split apart the tangled elements, ran the test. The cursor halted exactly where it should. The execution ran clean. She smiled. "There. Breathe, system. What are you doing?" Sophia froze. Her heart slammed, so hard she briefly thought she might have cracked her skull on the edge of the monitor. She turned slowly. William stood in the doorway, his expression caught somewhere between disbelief and fury. Aye. The words wouldn't form. He stepped inside, eyes wide, the look of a man catching someone mid-robbery. Sophia jumped to her feet, stumbling backward. "You had absolutely no right to touch that computer," he said, advancing. I know. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, I swear. Oliver's charger was here. I came in to get it." And she drew a breath. "I saw the code. I recognized the error. And it was instinct. I just fixed it. He fired back, sarcasm cutting through. "Who do you think you are? I didn't think. I just acted. It was reflex. I didn't mean to touch any of your things, I swear. I just saw the bug and corrected it." The logic was caught in the main function loop. It was spinning like a hamster in a wheel. The explanation poured out before she could stop it. William went still. He looked at the screen. Sophia stood frozen, hands clasped in front of her as if trying to physically restrain her own heartbeat. The silence that followed felt endless. William dropped into the chair. His fingers flew across the keyboard, testing the fix. He ran it again. The stuck line now executed smoothly. The final output, clean. The bug that his team, some of the country's best software engineers, had been unable to crack in 2 weeks, had just dissolved. He stared at the result, refusing to believe it even as the numbers confirmed it. "You," he began, and the anger had drained from his voice, replaced with something closer to stunned. "You just saved a $300 million deal." Sophia took a step back, unsure if that statement was a compliment or grounds for an arrest. I'm really sorry. Genuinely. You can fire me. I shouldn't have." He held up a hand, motioning her to stop. He stayed quiet for a long beat. Then he stood. She retreated another step, prepared to leave the room, leave the city if it came to that. He studied her with an expression she couldn't decode. "That was brilliant." Sophia's eyes widened. "That doesn't change the fact that I invaded your space and touched something I shouldn't have. No, and by doing that, you save a project that's been keeping me up at night." He turned, studying her with newfound attention. "Who are you, really?" "I'm just your son's nanny." She forced out a nervous laugh, trying to lighten the air. "So, am I still hired as the nanny, or did I just resign as an accidental hacker?" William didn't answer right away. He stared at the laptop screen, the corrected code flashing like undeniable proof of what had just happened. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Sophia had already learned meant he was processing something significant. "Sit," he finally said, gesturing toward the leather armchair beside the desk. Sophia hesitated. "Look, if you're about to deliver a lecture on privacy and professional boundaries, I'd rather hear it standing. Easier to make a run for it." He almost smiled. "Almost." "Sit down, Sophia. Please." The please caught her off guard. She lowered herself into the chair, smoothing her uniform skirt with nervous hands. William turned his own chair to face her, arms crossed, but his posture had loosened. "Where did you learn programming?" he asked, getting straight to it. Sophia exhaled. "Queen and Public Library. Computer section. Shelves J47 through J52, if you'd like to verify." "The library." Disbelief crept back into his voice. "Yep, boss. Not everyone's born into money for MIT or Stanford. Some of us work with what's available." She crossed her legs, finding her footing again. Python for beginners. JavaScript made easy. Fundamentals of data structures. Read every one. Twice. Some chapters 3 times. William looked at her like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. And beyond that, free online courses. Khan Academy, Code Academy, Free Code Camp. She counted them off on her fingers. All free. All studied in the middle of the night, after Oliver fell asleep and before you woke up. A small laugh escaped her. "Did you know your Wi-Fi is exceptional at 3 in the morning? You use my internet to study programming." His voice sat somewhere between irritation and admiration. "Technically, I was in the house. And technically, you never said I couldn't." She shrugged. "Don't worry, though. I never touched anything personal. I'm an ethical intruder." William shook his head, genuinely startled. "How long have you been studying all of this?" "About 3 years. Started as curiosity, turned into something closer to obsession." "And you never mentioned it?" Sophia laughed, a real disarming sound. "Oh, sure. First day on the job, I'd announce, 'Hi, I'm Sophia. I'll be looking after your son. And by the way, I can also patch banking systems on my spare time.' Very normal opening conversation. "It's not hacking if you're fixing bugs," William muttered, mostly to himself. "Thank you for the technical clarification, Professor." Sophia stood. "But now that you've discovered my dark secret, I should get back to work. Oliver's probably wondering where I disappeared to." "Wait." William rose too. "Did you attend college?" She stopped at the door, turned back slowly. "I started a computer science degree at the University of Washington. 2.5 years. Started? What happened?" For a moment, the playful mask slipped from her expression. "Life happened. Bills. Family. Dreams that cost more than I had. And you just gave up?" The question came out sharper than he intended. Sophia's shoulders straightened. The lightness in her eyes had been replaced with something firmer. "Gave up." She laughed, but there was no warmth in it this time. "I didn't give up on anything. I made choices. I chose rent over tuition. I chose work over crushing debt. I chose surviving over chasing a dream I couldn't afford." William felt something strange shift in his chest, a sensation he couldn't immediately name. "I didn't mean." "You meant exactly that," Sophia cut in, stepping closer, her eyes sharp now. "Because in your world, if someone doesn't have a diploma, they don't matter. If they didn't attend a prestigious university, they couldn't possibly know anything real." She tilted her chin. "Welcome to the actual world, boss, where some people are intelligent in spite of their circumstances, not because of their privilege." The silence that followed had real weight to it. William looked at her, truly looked for the first time. He saw the determination in her dark eyes, the way she held herself upright despite the simple uniform, the intelligence in every precisely chosen word. "You're right," he said quietly. "And I was wrong." Sophia blinked, clearly not expecting that. "Well, that was unexpected. Happens more often than I'd like," William admitted, rubbing a hand across his face. "Would you teach me your approach? How you fix the problem, I mean?" Sophia tilted her head. "Seriously? My team has PhDs from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, and you with library books and borrowed Wi-Fi. solve in 5 minutes what took them 2 weeks. Goroed Wi-Fi, Sofia Korek Smiling. And sure, I can walk you through it. Just not now. Oliver's probably dismantling your living room. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and William. Yes. Not everything that shines comes from Harvard, boss. Sometimes it's just someone determined enough to keep polishing a rough stone until it becomes a diamond. She left him alone with his thoughts. He looked again at the screen, the code running flawlessly, then at the door she just walked through. From the hallway came Oliver's laughter, followed by Sophia's voice constructing some impossible story about pirates who programmed flying ships. William found himself smiling, something he hadn't done in weeks. He sat back down and tried to focus on his overflowing inbox, but his mind kept returning to the conversation, to the way Sophia had defended her choices without playing the victim, to the sharp intelligence tucked behind her disarming humor, to the way she had put him in his place without losing an ounce of grace. William Moore had always believed he knew exactly how to categorize people, useful or useless, sharp or average, driven or complacent. Sophia fit none of those boxes, and that, strangely, was beginning to feel pleasant rather than unsettling. For the first time in years, William felt genuinely curious about another person, not for professional reasons, but simply because of who they were. And that curiosity, he realized with a mixture of fascination and quiet concern, was starting to matter to him in a way that had nothing to do with clean code or $300 million problems. Oliver's voice echoed from down the hall. Sophia, can you teach my dad how to make pancakes that don't look like burnt cookies? Her laughter rang out like a bell. Only if he promises not to try to program the recipe. William shook his head, finally letting the smile fully form. Yes, there was definitely something about Sophia Sands worth paying attention to, and for the first time in a long while, he was eager to find out exactly what. The following Monday, William woke up with an idea that bordered on absurd but proved impossible to resist. If Sophia genuinely possessed the knowledge she demonstrated, he wanted certainty. Not because he didn't trust her, but out of scientific curiosity. At least that was the story he told himself as he set up his first experiment. He left a spreadsheet open on his laptop containing a deliberately broken formula. Not obvious enough to be insulting, but irritating enough to bother anyone with a trained eye. A VLOOKUP with a circular reference designed to make Excel weep blood. Good morning, Sophia. He greeted her on arrival, watching closely. Morning, boss. She hung her bag on the kitchen hook. Oliver still asleep? Like an angel. Coffee. Sophia raised an eyebrow. You're offering me coffee. Which phase are we in now? The trying to be less arrogant phase, according to a very wise person I recently encountered. She sounds remarkably smart, Sophia replied, accepting the mug with a smile. I'll go wake up the little prince. William returned to the office and pretended to work, listening for sounds elsewhere in the house. Vacuum noises, Oliver's laughter, footsteps in the hallway. An hour later, he found a sticky note on his monitor. Asterisk your spreadsheet had the hiccups. VLOOKUP isn't supposed to loop forever unless you're trying to create a black hole in Excel. Fixed it. You're welcome. S. Asterisk. William smiled. Phase 1 passed. Tuesday's test was subtler. He left a Python script with deliberately chaotic indentation. Nothing that would break the code, but enough to make any programmer's eye twitch. The note arrived, taped to the keyboard. Asterisk whoever formatted this needs help. Looks like it was attacked by rival gangs of tabs and spaces. I got them organized. They live in peace now. SPS. Always use 4 spaces. Always, asterisk. William laughed out loud. Oliver, sprinting down the hallway, stopped at the doorway. Why are you laughing alone, Dad? Sophia says people who laugh alone are usually plotting something sneaky. Sophia says a lot of wise things, William muttered, folding the note. Wednesday raised the difficulty. He left a PowerPoint presentation open in Comic Sans, awash in clashing bright colors and seizure-inducing animations. A deliberate eyesore. This time the note came attached to a completely revised version. Asterisk my eyes bled. Made you a version that won't induce seizures. Arial 12, professional colors, smooth transitions. Visual respect, is everything, boss. Your investors will thank you. P.S. Comic Sans is a crime against humanity. Asterisk. William opened a revised version and stared, stunned. She hadn't just fixed the design. She'd restructured the content into something more logical and considerably more compelling. Extremely professional. Thursday tested more specialized knowledge. He left a JavaScript snippet with a badly structured recursive function guaranteed to trigger a Stack Overflow, the kind of error only someone with real depth would catch. The note that came back contained a full correction. Asterisk, your recursion was more lost than a tourist in Sao Paulo. Implemented memoization to improve performance and keep your browser from having a nervous breakdown. Run smooth as Samba at Carnival now. P.S. recursion without control is like Oliver without supervision. Guaranteed disaster. Asterisk. William stopped pretending this was casual curiosity. This woman possessed solid technical depth, sharp aesthetic instinct, and a sense of humor that landed every time. It was both unsettling and captivating. By Friday, he couldn't resist one final test. He left a spreadsheet of real financial data, nothing confidential, but tangled and badly formatted, to see how far she'd push it. 2 hours later, he found not just a note, but an entirely rebuilt spreadsheet. Asterisk, boss, this was an organizational disaster. I redid the whole thing. Dynamic charts, pivot tables, conditional formatting, even a tidy dashboard. If this were a house, I would have demolished it and rebuilt from scratch. Hope you like the remodel. Who taught you Excel? I need a serious conversation with them. Asterisk. William opened the file, and his jaw dropped literally. It was corporate-grade work, elegant visualizations, organized data, analyses he hadn't even thought to run, better than what some of his senior analysts produced. He stared at the screen, then the note, then back at the screen, and something began growing in his chest that wasn't professional admiration anymore. It was interest, genuine interest in the brilliant mind disguised as his son's nanny. Dad, why do you look like you've seen a ghost? Oliver appeared in the doorway, holding a glass of juice. Not a ghost, son. Surprise. Sophia does that, he said simply. You think she's smart? Oliver rolled his eyes. Dad, she solves my math problems faster than you, and she makes dinosaur-shaped pancakes. And yesterday, she fixed my video game when you said we'd have to call tech support. William smiled. That's true. Can I tell you a secret? Oliver whispered dramatically. Of course. Sophia stays up late, messing with the computer in the living room. I saw her when I went to get water. She was making colorful drawings on the screen. Asterisk, colorful drawings on the screen. Probably coding or studying. Asterisk, William felt a stab of guilt for testing her behind the scenes while she was clearly spending her own time pushing herself further. Oliver, do you like Sophia? Obviously. She's fun, and she doesn't get mad when I ask weird questions. Oliver took a sip. You like her too, right? The question caught William entirely off guard. Why do you think that? Because you stop frowning when she's around, and you smile more. Sophia says smiling's good for the heart. Out of the mouths of children, she really does say a lot of wise things. Yep. Oliver took another sip. Oh, and Dad, Sophia left you a note on the fridge. She said it was important. William's heart picked up speed. Important how? I don't know. She said you'd understand when you read it. William walked to the kitchen with Oliver trailing him like a curious puppy. On the fridge door, secured under a dinosaur magnet, was a different kind of note. Same handwriting, different tone. Asterisk, William, I know you've been planting mistakes on purpose to test me. It doesn't bother me. Honestly, it's a little endearing watching you try to figure out who I am without simply asking. How about a real conversation instead? Oliver's at his grandmother's tomorrow, right? I promise not to hack anything of yours without permission. P.S. You have a genuine gift for engineering creative problems. Ever considered a career change? Asterisk. William read it 3 times. She knew, of course she knew. And rather than being offended, she was inviting him to talk. What did she write? Oliver tried to peek over his arm. That she's even smarter than I already thought. I already knew that. Oliver said matter-of-factly. Sophia always knows things before we say them. William folded the note and tucked it into his pocket. For the first time in years, he He was looking forward to a conversation, genuinely, simply looking forward to getting to know someone. And for the first time since Sophia Sands had entered his life, William admitted to himself that maybe, just maybe, his interest in her had nothing whatsoever to do with professional matters. William spent the entirety of Saturday planning. Oliver was at his grandmother's, and the quiet house gave him room to think. He had decided he wanted a real conversation with Sophia. But being William Moore, he couldn't simply ask. He needed a pretext. So he constructed his most elaborate trap yet, an optimization algorithm with a subtle but real logical flaw, the kind that would make an experienced programmer wince. At 8 on Monday morning, when Sophia arrived, he was in the kitchen making coffee with near-scientific concentration. "Good morning," he said, aiming for casual. "Oliver's not here today. He came back last night, but wanted one more night at Grandma's." Sophia hung up her bag and looked at him with curiosity. "And you're cooking?" "Making coffee," William said, stirring the cinnamon with more force than necessary. Technical coffee." "Technical coffee?" She raised an eyebrow, clearly enjoying this. "Yeah, I wanted to run a few ideas past you. About system optimization." He turned, holding 2 mugs. "Would you mind looking at a project I've been working on?" Sophia crossed her arms, the smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "William Moore is inviting me for technical coffee. Is it that strange, considering that until last week you barely acknowledged my existence beyond Oliver's caregiver?" "Yeah, slightly surreal." William felt his face warm. "I always knew you existed." "Oh, sure. As the nanny. Now I'm a nanny who codes." Sophia accepted the mug, inhaling. Cinnamon. "Fancy. So, are you going to look at the code, or just analyze me like a social experiment?" "Why not both?" Sophia laughed and followed him into the office. William had left the laptop open, code spread across the screen. She walked up, gave it a casual glance, and William watched, waiting for her reaction. She was silent for 30 seconds. Then she sighed. "Seriously, William?" "Seriously what?" She turned, hands on her hips. "You're testing me again. And this time, you didn't even try to hide it." "I'm not." Infinite loop on line 47. Bad exit condition on line 63. And the nerve to name a variable test for Sophia on line 81. She pointed at the screen without even looking. "You should be spending this energy on therapy instead of pranks." William stood frozen for a moment, fully exposed. And then something happened that hadn't happened in a long time. He laughed. Not a polite smile, not a soft chuckle, a real, deep laugh that started in his chest and filled the room. Sophia blinked. "Wow, you actually know how to laugh." "Apparently I do," William said, wiping his eyes, still smiling. It's just, you're completely right. About everything. I always am." Sophia settled into the armchair, crossing her legs. "But I admit I'm curious. Why the whole production? You could have just said, 'Sophia, let's talk.'" William leaned against the desk, facing her. "Honestly, I don't really know how to talk to people in a normal way. Normal, without an agenda, without a business purpose, without quietly evaluating whether they're useful for something." He ran a hand through his hair. "It's pathetic, I know." Sophia studied him a moment. "It's not pathetic. It's sad, but not pathetic. What's the difference? Pathetic would be not realizing it. Sad is realizing it but not knowing how to change." William felt something shift in his chest, a sharp pang of recognition. "And do you think it's possible to change?" "Anyone can change. The question is whether they actually want to." Sophia took a sip of her coffee. This is actually really good. The cinnamon was a nice touch." "Thanks." William settled into his own chair. "Can I ask you a personal question? Now you want to ask, after spying on me for an entire week?" Sophia laughed. "Go ahead. Why aren't you bitter? About life? I mean, you had to drop out of college. You work as a nanny when you're clearly capable of so much more. And yet you laugh, you joke. How?" Sophia was quiet for a moment, turning the cup in her hands. "Because being bitter doesn't change anything. It would just make me miserable. And bitter on top of that." She looked at him. "Besides, who says being a nanny is worth less than working with code?" "Well, objectively, She leaned forward. Nothing. I take care of your son. I help shape a child's character. I teach him values, patience, creativity. You really think that's worth less than optimizing algorithms? William opened his mouth and discovered he had no answer. Well, the salary. So a person's worth is measured in dollars. Sophia's eyebrow climbed. Interesting life philosophy. Must be why you're so happy and fulfilled. The irony landed sharp, but not cruel. William felt as though he'd just received a gentle slap to the face. You're right. Again. I know. Sophia smiled. Look, William, I have nothing against money. Money's useful. It pays bills, gives security, but it doesn't define worth. And it definitely doesn't define intelligence or capability. How did you develop all this wisdom? By living in the real world. Sophia shrugged. What kind of bubble did you grow up in? Never had to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. Never been made to feel less than because of your zip code or your clothes. William shook his head slowly. Then you've never had to learn that a person's value has nothing to do with what they wear or where they studied. Sophia stood. It's a tough lesson, but a useful one. And you don't feel angry? At people born into privilege. Sophia looked at him for a long moment. Anger is a luxury I can't afford. She walked to the window. But you know what I do feel? Pity. Pity. For people like you, who have everything but don't know the value of any of it. So sheltered by wealth that they never learn how to find beauty in simple things. She turned to face him. You have an amazing son, a beautiful home, the power to change the world. And yet, most of the time, you seem miserable. William sat in silence, absorbing the words. That was brutally honest. You asked for technical coffee. I always serve with full specifications. Sophia smiled. But don't worry. I still think there's hope for you. Hope for what? Becoming a decent person? You just need to get out of your own head now and then. William looked at her. Really looked. He saw the intelligence in her dark eyes, the strength in her posture, the kindness running beneath even her sharpest observations. Sophia? Yes. Thank you. For the technical coffee. She smiled, and William felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. A genuine connection to another human being. Anytime, boss. But next time, skip the fake code. I prefer real conversations. The following Thursday, William had to do something he despised. Host executives at his home for an emergency meeting. The company's main server was malfunctioning, and 3 major clients were threatening to cancel contracts worth millions. Sophia, we'll have some traffic through here today, he said over breakfast. 5 or 6 executives coming for a meeting. Would you mind staying invisible? Sure, boss. I'll blend into the wallpaper, she said with a dry smile. That's not what I meant. It's just they're complicated. Complicated like difficult personalities, or complicated like ignorant and prejudiced? William hesitated. A bit of both. Sophia laughed. Don't worry. I can handle temperamental executives. I've survived Oliver on his worst days. By 2 in the afternoon, the penthouse was packed. William had converted the living room into an improvised boardroom. Laptops, a projector, abundant coffee. Sophia moved quietly through the background, serving drinks, keeping Oliver entertained in his room. The executives were precisely what William had dreaded. Arrogant, impatient, treating anyone not wearing a suit like furniture. We need solutions, not excuses, said Richard Hamilton, VP of Technology at their largest client. 3 million in losses per day isn't a joke. We're working around the clock to resolve it, William replied, patience thinning. Working how? Barked Marcus Webb, another executive, gesturing wildly. Your team is incompetent. Maybe it's time to outsource this to people who actually know what they're doing. Sophia was in the kitchen preparing more coffee when the rising volume caught her attention. Oliver had asked for orange juice, and she was carrying his glass when the argument hit its peak. The problem is, you surround yourself with amateurs, Hamilton continued. You need serious people, not these backyard coders you keep hiring. Sophia froze in the hallway. Backyard coders, her blood began to boil. Asterisk kashkuls. People like her, who studied in libraries, who sacrificed to learn. She tightened her grip on the glass and kept walking. What are you suggesting? William asked, clearly frustrated. Clean house, Hamilton said. Fire the amateurs. Hire real professionals. MIT, Stanford, Caltech. People who didn't learn coding watching YouTube videos. Sophia walked into the room just as Hamilton waved his hand dismissively. And that's what happened. Maybe it was the YouTube comment. Maybe it was the arrogant tone. Maybe the universe had simply been setting the stage for the perfect moment. Sophia tripped. The glass of orange juice arced through the air with surprising elegance and landed squarely on Hamilton's chest, soaking his crisp white shirt and his expensive Italian tie. The silence that followed was absolute. Hamilton looked down, then at Sophia, then back down, as if his brain couldn't fully process the input. You threw juice on me, he stammered, his voice climbing 2 octaves. Sophia looked at him, then at the empty glass in her hand, then at the orange stains spreading across his shirt, and instead of apologizing like a reasonable person, she said, "It's to rinse off all that arrogance." The silence deepened. Webb opened and closed his mouth like a beach fish. The other executives stood paralyzed. William hovered somewhere between horror and what suspiciously resembled admiration. How dare you?" Hamilton sputtered, dripping onto the Persian rug. "Oops, sorry about that," Sophia said, in a tone that didn't sound sorry at all. "But since it's already stained, maybe take a moment to reflect on that whole real people speech. For the record, some of the best programmers I know learned in public libraries. And yes, even from YouTube. Who do you think you are? Lecturing me?" Hamilton rose, more juice dripping with every movement. "I'm a nanny," Sophia said, standing tall. "And apparently, someone with better aim than your social skills." William knew he should intervene. Reprimand Sophia. Apologize. Try to salvage the meeting. But when he opened his mouth, what came out was entirely unexpected. Laughter. It started quiet, almost like a cough. Then it grew, and before long, William Moore, the serious, composed CEO, was laughing out loud in front of the most powerful clients his company had. "More!" Webb stood up, outraged. "You're going to let your employee treat us this way?" William tried to compose himself, but one glance at Hamilton dripping orange juice and gesturing furiously made it worse. He laughed harder. "Sorry," he managed between chuckles. "It's just, Sophie is right about one thing." "About what?" Hamilton demanded, dabbing his shirt with a napkin. "About needing to rinse off the arrogance," William said, wiping his eyes. "And about my team. They're brilliant, no matter where they studied." Sophia looked surprised. William looked back and gave her a quick wink. "But Sophia," he added, trying to appear serious, "you can't just go around throwing juice at people." "True," Sophia replied solemnly. "Next time I'll use something that doesn't stain. Maybe water." Hamilton made a strangled noise. Webb looked one comment away from stroke. "This is unacceptable," Hamilton declared. "We demand a formal apology." "Of course," William said, still smiling. "Sophia, would you like to apologize?" Sophia thought for a moment. "I apologize for wasting perfectly good orange juice. Oliver would have loved that juice." The executives stormed out in a flurry of muttered threats and indignation. William closed the door behind them and turned to find Sophia already picking up shards of glass. "You realize we probably just lost a $3 million contract," he said. Sophia paused and looked at him. "Are you mad?" William considered the question. He should be furious. He should be calculating losses, drafting damage control. Instead, he felt light, as if a weight he hadn't fully noticed carrying had just lifted. "No," he said finally. "I am impressed. You did something I've wanted to do for years," he said with a grin, "and said things I should have said a long time ago." Sophia smiled back. "Then I guess the juice was worth it. Every drop." From down the hall came Oliver's voice. "Sophia, where's my juice?" Sophia and William looked at each other and burst out laughing. "I'll tell him it went to a noble cause," Sophia said, still laughing. "And I'll call my lawyers," William replied. "But first, thank you." "For what?" "For reminding me who I used to be before I became so serious." Sophia smiled. "Anytime, boss. But next time, give me a heads up. I'll bring extra juice. 3 days after what Oliver had dubbed the juice incident, life at the penthouse had mostly returned to normal. Almost. William noticed he was smiling more. His conversations with Sophia had grown less formal, and she had started leaving notes even when nothing needed fixing. The most recent one read, "Asterisk, we ran out of coffee. I bought more. Don't thank me. Pay me with a day off. Asterisk." It was Friday night. William was in the office, trying to understand why the company's main server kept producing random outages. His team's technical reports were inconclusive. Everything worked perfectly in testing, but the system kept collapsing unpredictably in production. Oliver was asleep. Sophia sat in the living room, folding laundry while half watching something on Netflix. William was approaching the edge of a nervous breakdown. "Damn it," he muttered, running a hand through his hair for the 20th time. What's going on with this system? He'd reviewed logs, analyzed performance metrics, run manual diagnostics. Nothing. The servers simply failed, with no pattern, no clear cause, no logical explanation. The kind of problem that could sink a company if it went unresolved much longer. He got up for more coffee and passed through the living room. Sophia sat on the couch, surrounded by neatly folded piles of clothes, eyes on the TV. "Working late again?" she asked, without looking up. "Server issue. I can't pinpoint the cause." Sophia folded one of Oliver's shirts with military precision. "Did you check the virtual memory logs?" William stopped mid-step. "How do you know about virtual memory logs?" "YouTube University, remember?" Sophia smiled. "And I may have skimmed a few of your reports while cleaning the office." "Sophia, relax. I didn't touch anything confidential. Just glanced." She finally looked up. "But seriously, did you check for a memory leak? Could be what's causing the crashes." William stared at her. "No, my team's been focused on code issues and network problems. Memory leaks are sneaky. Everything looks fine at first, then it slowly degrades until, boom, system crash." Sophia folded another shirt. "But hey, you're the expert. I just watch TV and take care of kid." William returned to the office with a strange sensation building in his gut. Not nausea, anticipation. He opened the virtual memory logs he'd entirely overlooked. And there it was, a systematic leak in the cache module, hidden during testing because it only surfaced after many hours of continuous use. In production, where the system ran around the clock, the problem accumulated until everything collapsed. "My God," William murmured, fingers flying to confirm the finding. There it was. The issue his team of PhDs hadn't found, sitting in plain sight in logs nobody had bothered to check. He started implementing a fix, then paused. Through the slightly open door, he could see Sophia at the dining table, hunched over her personal laptop, the soft blue light illuminating her focused face. A reckless idea crossed his mind. William gathered the full technical reports, including the newly discovered issue, and accidentally left them spread across the kitchen table. Then he went back to the office and pretended to keep working. 20 minutes later, footsteps in the kitchen. Sophia, probably for water. William hid behind the door, feeling ridiculous but too curious to stop. The rustle of papers. Then silence. A long silence. "William," Sophia's voice from the kitchen. He pretended to be absorbed in work. "Yes. You left some reports on the table." "Oh, thanks. Must have forgotten them." More silence. Then the unmistakable sound of a chair being pulled out. William waited 15 minutes before heading to the kitchen. Sophia was leaning over the documents, pen in hand, making notes in the margins. "Find anything interesting?" he asked, aiming for casual. Sophia looked up. "Do you want the polite answer or the brutally honest one?" "Always brutal honesty with you." "Your team was looking in the wrong place," Sophia said, pointing to a page. "You focused on connectivity issues, but completely ignored resource management. And the problem is right here." She circled a section of the report. "Memory leak in the cache module. Look at the failure timestamps and compare them to the memory usage spikes." William leaned in, pretending to analyze it freshly. "You're right. How do we miss this?" "Because you're all too much of experts," Sophia said, leaning back. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. It doesn't have to be complicated to be serious. And how would you fix it? Sophia grabbed a blank sheet and started sketching a diagram. Add a more aggressive garbage collector here. Optimize the cash release here. Implement real-time monitoring here. She finished and slid it toward him. 15 minutes of work tops. William looked at the diagram. Clean, efficient, completely right. Sophia, this is brilliant. It's obvious, she said, standing, gathering the papers. But you already knew that, didn't you? That's why you left the reports here. William felt heat rise to his face. I didn't. William. Sophia looked at him with a smile that clearly said, don't underestimate me. You were watching me work. I heard you behind a door. Saw the scientific curiosity. Uh-huh. Sophia folded the papers and handed them over. Well, your scientific curiosity just saved your company. Again. Sophia, Relax, she cut in. I'm not mad. Actually, it's kind of cute, watching you try to figure out how my mind works. Goo. Like a scientist studying a new species of butterfly. Sophia laughed. But now you owe me. What do you want? A raise? A promotion? William. Sophia placed a hand on his arm, and he felt a small jolt run through him. Stop. Stop what? Trying to fit me into your corporate boxes. She pulled her hand back. I don't want a title. I don't want a promotion. I don't want to be the former nanny who became CTO. Then what do you want? Sophia looked him directly in the eyes. Respect. Acknowledgement that intelligence doesn't come attached to a diploma. And maybe, she smiled, for you to stop pretending you're not curious about who I really am. William felt his heart pick up speed. Sophia. Good night, William, she said, heading for the door. Are you going to fix that server? Or just stand up processing all of this? After she left, William stood in the kitchen holding the reports. On top was a sticky note that hadn't been there before. Asterisk, you can pay me in pizza. Or respect. Your choice. Both would be nice, but I'm not picky. P.S. Stop spying on me. If you want to know something, just ask. Asterisk. William smiled and returned to the office. He implemented the fix in 10 minutes. The server stopped crashing immediately. As he watched the system metrics return to normal, his mind was somewhere else entirely. It was on Sophia, how she'd solved a $1 million problem like it was a simple puzzle, how she asked for nothing but dignity, and how, for the first time in his life, he was genuinely interested in someone, not for what they could do for him, but for who they were. William Moore was beginning to suspect that he was falling for Sophia's sands, and that fact both terrified and exhilarated him. The storm arrived without warning on a Tuesday night. Seattle was used to rain, but this was different. Winds near 60 miles per hour, lightning streaking the sky like electric veins, rain so heavy it appeared a gray curtain had dropped over the entire city. William was in the office when the lights flickered for the first time. Oliver was fast asleep, exhausted from running around the apartment after the rain canceled their park plans. Sophia was in the kitchen, finishing dinner dishes. This doesn't look good, William murmured, glancing out the window as another bolt lit up the sky. As if the universe had heard him, every light in the apartment went out at once. The penthouse plunged into darkness, broken only by lightning flashes. William. Sophia's voice from the kitchen. I'm here. Are you okay? I'm fine, but I think the whole city just lost power. William walked to the window. She was right. All of Seattle sat in the dark, save for a few backup generators dotting the skyline with tiny points of light. Great, he sighed. Where do you keep the candles? Kitchen drawer, next to the stove. Flashlights in the pantry. 15 minutes later, they transformed the living room into something surprisingly cozy. Candles scattered across the tables produced golden pools of light, and the fireplace, which William almost never used, was lit, throwing dancing shadows across the walls. Oliver didn't even notice, Sophia said, returning from his room. He's sleeping like an angel. Good for him. William sat on the couch, watching rain hit the windows. I should be working, but no internet. The world's not going to end if you relax for one night. Sophia settled into the armchair beside him, legs tucked under her. When was the last time you did nothing? William considered. Honestly, I can't remember. That's sad. It's practical. It's lonely. Sophia picked up a candle and set on a coffee table between them. Have you always been like this? Full-on workaholic. Not always. William leaned back. When Oliver was a baby, I tried to balance things more. But after my ex-wife, he stopped abruptly. I don't have to talk about that. Only if you want to. Sophia tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Sometimes it helps. William was quiet for a moment, listening to the rain. She said I was married to my job, that she and Oliver always came second. His voice had gone low, nearly lost beneath the storm. And she was right. What happened? She left me when Oliver was 3. Said she couldn't stand sharing a husband with a company anymore. William looked at his hands. The irony is I worked so hard to give them security, to build something solid. And in the end, what I built was a wall between us. Sophia studied his face in the candlelight, seeing a vulnerability she'd never noticed before. And after that, you worked even more. It was easier than facing the fact that I'd failed as a husband and a father. William, Sophia leaned forward. You didn't fail as a father. Oliver loves you. Now he does. But for a long time, he barely knew me. William gave a sad smile. You've done more for him these past few months than I did in his first few years of life. That's not true. It is. You teach him. Play with him. Listen to all those impossible stories he invents. I was always too busy. Sophia was quiet for a moment. Want to know a secret? Sure. Oliver talks about you constantly. My dad is really smart. My dad builds important things. My dad has a computer that talks to the whole world. She smiled. You're his hero. William felt something tighten in his chest. Even when I barely paid attention to him. Kids see love in different ways. For Oliver, you working to support him was love. You being home every night was love. You thinking about his future was love. How do you know so much about kids? About all of this? Sophia looked at her hands. Experience. I kind of raised my little sister. Kind of. Totally, actually. Sophia turned the candle between her fingers. My parents died in a car accident when I was 22 and she was 10. All of a sudden, I was responsible for a child. William felt his heart skip. Sophia. That's why I left college. I couldn't afford tuition and raise a child at the same time. A small, sad smile. Isabella needed stability. She needed someone present, not a sister who studied all day and worked all night. Where is she now? Med school in California. 2nd year. The pride in Sophia's voice was unmistakable. Going to be a pediatrician. Says it's because I taught her that taking care of children is the most important thing in the world. William looked at her in the golden candlelight. He saw quiet strength, sacrifice turned into love, a kind of intelligence applied in service of something larger than ambition. You gave up your dreams for her. I didn't give them up. I changed direction. Sophia set the candle back down. My dream was a career in tech. I ended up with a career in raising people. Isabella, Oliver, not small accomplishments. But you still want to? Work in tech. Of course. In my own time, in my own way. She looked at him. Not everything in life has to be a race, William. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the storm. William felt like he was truly seeing Sophia for the first time. Not the nanny, not the woman who fixed code, but the whole person, depth and beauty intact. Then his phone rang. He answered reluctantly. Hello. William. Thank God. Marcus, his CTO. The system's down again. 3 servers at once. We're losing data. William's blood ran cold. What do you mean, 3 servers? We don't know what happened. Everything was working, then total crash. The clients are furious. Hamilton is threatening to sue. William stood, running a hand through his hair. No power, no internet, I can't. You need to come to the office. Now. Marcus, there's a storm. No power anywhere. William, if we don't fix this today, we lose everything. The entire company. Do you understand? William hung up and stood frozen, hands trembling slightly. William. Sophia stood. What happened? The system crashed completely. 3 servers. His voice sounded strange, distant. Years of work. Millions in contracts. He started pacing. It's the whole company. Everything I built. If I lose this. William. Oliver. The house. His security. His voice rose, panic threading through it. I can't lose everything again. I can't. William, I failed. Again. I always fail at the important things. Sophia said nothing. She simply moved closer and wrapped her arms around him. Not a comforting, motherly hug, but firm and steady, the kind that says you are not alone. William froze for a second, then allowed himself to relax into it. He wrapped his arms around her, breathed in the soft scent of her hair, felt the solid strength of her smaller frame. "It's going to be okay," she whispered against his chest. "You'll fix this. You always fix it. And what if I can't? Then we find another way." Sophia pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "You're not alone, William." He looked at her, really looked, and saw the determination in her dark eyes, the quiet strength, the unwavering confidence. Without thinking, he took her hand. Sophia looked down at their joined hands, then back at his face. Her heart raced, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she laced her fingers through his. "Sophia." William's voice had gone hoarse. "I know," she whispered. They stayed like that, hands joined by candlelight while the storm raged outside. Not a kiss, not a declaration. Something deeper, a silent acknowledgement that something had changed between them. Something real, something that mattered. And for the first time in years, William more felt at home. Power returned at 5 in the morning with a low hum that brought every machine in the apartment to life at once. William and Sophia had fallen asleep on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder, hands still linked. The sound of the laptop restarting woke them. "The power's back," Sophia whispered, pulling away quickly, smoothing her hair. "I have to." William stood, still a little disoriented. "I need to check on the servers." 15 minutes later, he was in the office with 3 laptops open, trying to remotely access company systems. Sophia appeared in the doorway with 2 cups of coffee. "Did you get in?" "Yes, but..." William rubbed his face. "It's worse than I thought. Not 3 servers. 6. And the backups failed too." Sophia set a cup beside him and looked at the screens. "Mind if I take a look?" William hesitated, then turned one of the laptops toward her. "Please. I can't figure out what happened." Sophia leaned over the screen, eyes scanning the error logs quickly. William watched her face tighten with concentration, brows furrowing as she processed. She murmured after a few minutes. "Interesting. What did you see?" "Your system had gas." William blinked. "Gas. Stuck. Like when you eat too many beans and feel uncomfortable." Sophia smiled, still scanning. "Look here at the timestamps. The failures didn't all start at once." "They didn't." "No. They started here." She pointed to a specific line. 7:47 p.m. Then it cascaded. One server failed, overloaded the next, which failed and overloaded the next, and so on. William moved closer. "But what caused the first failure?" Sophia scrolled up. "Here. Data sync process. Someone changed backup parameters on Friday and created a circular dependency loop." Dependency loop. William started piecing it together. Server A was waiting on confirmation from B, which was waiting on C, which was waiting on A. Exactly. Like 3 polite people trying to go through a door at the same time. "Nobody moves." Sophia laughed. The system kept waiting for confirmation that would never arrive until memory ran out and, boom, domino effect. William looked at her, genuinely impressed. "And you figured this out in 5 minutes?" "Your system was screaming the problem. You just weren't listening to its language." Sophia stepped back from the screen. "The fix is simple. Break the loop, restart the services in the right order, add a check to prevent recurrence." "Sophia, this is going to save the company. Save $300 million, to be precise." She shrugged. "I just had to give your system a little chamomile tea. Now it can relax." William stared at her, the woman who had just saved his company as naturally as she made pancakes for Oliver, who explained multi-million-dollar system failures with analogies about digestion. A wave of something he couldn't name washed over him. Gratitude, admiration, and something more, something that tightened his chest and quickened his pulse. "I'm going to implement the fixes," he said, turning back to the computer. 2 hours later, every system was running perfectly. William had sent reassuring updates to clients. The tech team was back to work. The crisis was over. Sophia was heading toward the kitchen when William emerged from the office. Sophia. She turned. All fixed. All of it. He stepped closer. Thanks to you. No. William cut her off, stepping closer still. You saved everything. Again. You always save everything. There was something in his voice, in the way he looked at her, that made Sophia step back instinctively. William. He didn't let her finish. In one decisive movement, he took her face in his hands and kissed her. It wasn't hesitant, wasn't questioning. It was decisive, carrying the full weight of months of bottled-up feeling, relief, gratitude, admiration, and something far larger he had finally allowed himself to feel. For a second, Sophia gave in. She felt the texture of his lips, the warmth of his hands, the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with coffee and sleepless nights. Then reality hit, like a bucket of cold water. She pushed it back, not hard, but firmly enough to create distance. William. No. Sophia. No. She shook her head, eyes bright with a mix of confusion and hurt. I'm not going to be your distraction. Your escape valve. Your reward for solving problems. That's not what this is. Isn't it? Sophia crossed her arms. You're vulnerable, stressed. I help with work, and suddenly it turns into romance? Very convenient, William. You think that's what's happening? I don't know what to think. Her voice rose slightly. Did you kiss me because you're grateful? Because it's a reaction to relief? Or because the words slowed? Because you're the only thing that woke me up from my colorless life? The phrase landed low, but carried a raw honesty that made Sophia pause mid-thought. William, it's not about work, Sophia. He moved closer again without touching her. It's not about you fixing problems or saving the company. It's about you making Oliver laugh. About your funny notes. About how you see the world. It's about you reminding me there's life beyond spreadsheets and code. Sophia looked into his eyes. She saw the sincerity there, but also the fear of someone who didn't know how to handle genuine feeling. I need to think, she said finally. Sophia. No, William. I need time to understand what I'm feeling, what you're feeling, and whether this is real or just circumstance. William nodded, though every part of him wanted to protest. How long? I don't know. Assad smiled. But you'll know when I do. She walked away, then stopped before turning the corner. William. Yes. Your system wasn't the only thing that woke up. She looked at him a long moment. I've been asleep a long time, too. Then she was gone, leaving William alone in the hallway, his heart pounding like he'd just run a marathon. 3 hours later, during an emergency video call with all clients and investors, William did something that surprised everyone. The problem was identified and solved by someone on our team who prefers to remain anonymous, he said into the cameras. This person didn't just save our systems. They taught us a valuable lesson about simplicity and efficiency. Who was it? Hamilton asked, still on the call, still wearing the orange juice-stained shirt. Someone who reminded us that intelligence doesn't come with labels or diplomas. Someone who solves $300 million problems the same way they solve everyday ones, with logic, creativity, and a lot of good humor. After the meeting, Marcus approached him. Boss, who was it really? The whole team's curious. William smiled. Someone special. Very special. But as he spoke, his eyes drifted to the kitchen door, where Sophia was probably preparing Oliver's snack, pretending the world hadn't completely shifted that morning. The server problem was fixed. The company was saved. The clients were happy. But William knew the real challenge was just beginning, and for the first time in his life, it was a challenge he genuinely wanted to face. 2 weeks had passed since the kiss in the hallway. Sophia and William had settled into a strange equilibrium. They talked normally, worked together when necessary, but there was a tension in the air, like electricity before a storm. Oliver, with the unfiltered perception children specialize in, had noticed, "Why do you two keep staring at each other and then looking away?" he asked during Friday breakfast. Sophia nearly choked on her orange juice. William suddenly found his emails fascinating. "I don't know what you're talking about, little guy," Sophia said, ruffling his hair. "You look like two scared kittens," Oliver said, laughing. "My teacher said kittens do that when they like each other," but are shy. William coughed loudly. Sophia decided it was time to take Oliver to brush his teeth. Later, with Oliver in front of cartoons, William approached Sophia in the kitchen. Sophia, I need to make you a proposal. She turned cautious. What kind of proposal? Professional. Totally professional. He raised his hands. The company's quarterly event is next Thursday. I want to officially introduce you as a technical consultant. William, you saved the company 3 times. The shareholders deserve to know who's behind these solutions, and you deserve the recognition. Sophia shook her head. No, why not? Because I don't want to be your circus act. The babysitter who codes. The curious case to entertain executives. She crossed her arms. I told you what I want. Respect, not a show. William nodded, clearly disappointed. I understand, and I respect your decision. Thank you. But, he hesitated, would you come to the event? As a guest. Sophia studied him. Why? Because Oliver will be there. It's a family-friendly event, and I want him to see where I work. And, his voice lowered, because I'd like you to be there. Sophia sighed. Okay, but as Oliver's babysitter, not the mysterious consultant. Deal. The TechCorp quarterly event took place in the grand ballroom of the Fairmont Olympic Hotel, the kind of event William usually loathed. Corporate speeches, forced networking, executives competing over who wore the most expensive suit. But this time felt different. Oliver was fascinated by everything. The lights, the sound system, the giant screen presentations. And Sophia. Sophia looked beautiful. A simple navy dress, nothing extravagant, but it highlighted her dark eyes and the natural confidence she carried. Several people approached, assuming she was William's wife. I'm actually the babysitter, Sophia would say with a smile, enjoying the surprised expressions that always followed. William was on stage delivering the company's annual results presentation when an idea struck him. Completely impulsive and a direct violation of everything he'd promised Sophia. This year has been challenging, he said into the microphone, scanning the room of 300 people. We faced crises that could have destroyed our company, but we also discovered something valuable about where true innovation is born. Sophia, seated in the middle rows beside Oliver, felt her stomach drop. William, what are you doing? She whispered. Sophia Sands, William said into the microphone. Would you please come up on stage? Her blood ran cold. Oliver clapped excitedly. Go, Sophia. Daddy's calling you. 300 pairs of eyes turned to her. Sophia shook her head slightly, but William insisted. Sophia, please. Trust me. Against all reason, she stood and walked down the center aisle on trembling legs, aware of every eye on her, the curious whispers, the questioning looks. When she reached the stage, William stepped closer. You promised, she whispered. Trust me, he said softly. Then he turned to the microphone. This is Sophia Sands. She takes care of my son, Oliver. Murmurs of confusion swept the audience. Some executives exchanged looks. Why call up the babysitter? But Sophia did something more, William continued. She saved our company 3 times, without formal training in our field, without access to our corporate tools. She identified and solved problems our team of PhD engineers couldn't. The murmurs shifted in tone. She did this on her own time, out of intellectual curiosity, using library books and free online courses. And when I offered her jobs, promotions, higher salaries, he paused, looking at Sophia, who was clearly uncomfortable but hadn't fled. Do you know what she said? She said she wanted respect. Recognition that intelligence doesn't come with a diploma attached. His voice grew stronger. This woman rewrote more than code. She rewrote the way our company thinks. And she taught me that sometimes the best solutions come from where we least expect. The room had gone completely silent. Sophia represents everything our company should value. Creativity, dedication, humility, and the courage to look at complex problems with fresh eyes. William turned to her. Thank you, Sophia, for saving our company and for teaching me that human value can't be measured by resumes. The audience erupted into applause, not polite corporate clapping, but genuine, warm applause. People stood. Oliver shouted from the crowd, "That's my Sophia," sending a ripple of laughter through the room. Sophia looked at the crowd, then at William. Her eyes shone, but not with anger, with emotion. She stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you," she said simply. "But I want to make one thing clear. I didn't do anything that any dedicated person couldn't do. I was lucky to have access to knowledge, time to study, and," she looked at William, "someone who gave me the chance to show what I'm capable of." More applause. True innovation happens when we stop looking at diplomas and start looking at people. When we value curiosity as much as credentials. And when we recognize intelligence exists everywhere, it's just waiting for a chance. Sophia left the stage without drama, no long speech, no promises to change the world. Simple, direct, genuine. And while the audience continued applauding, William realized he was completely, hopelessly in love with Sophia Sands. Not just a brilliant programmer, not just the woman who'd save his company, but the honest, brave, humble person who had just taught a room full of millionaire executives a lesson in humility. William's home phone didn't stop ringing for 3 days after the company event. Journalists wanted to interview the genius babysitter. Headhunters offered 6-figure salaries. Universities offered full scholarships. Sophia answered politely, thanked them, and declined everything. "No, thank you. I'm not interested." "Yes, I'm sure." "No, it's not about the money." William watched, fascinated and confused. On Wednesday morning, after Sophia had declined her 10th call before breakfast, he couldn't hold back any longer. "Why are you turning everything down?" Sophia poured orange juice for Oliver. "Because I don't want to. But these are remarkable opportunities. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all offering senior positions." And William gestured, lost. "These are dream jobs. Salaries most people can't imagine." Sophia sat at the table. "William, have you stopped to think that maybe my dreams are different from yours?" "What do you mean?" "I don't want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. I don't want to work 16-hour days building tech empires." She took a bite of toast. "I want a balanced life. Time for the people I love. Weekends off. Real vacations." Oliver looked up from his cereal. "What's Mark Zuckerberg?" "A man who created Facebook and probably doesn't know the color of his kids' eyes," Sophia replied, looking meaningfully at William. "That was low," William muttered. "It was honest." Sophia stood. "Look, William, I admire your ambition, but it's not mine. I want stability, not glory. And Isabella, don't you want to help her more?" Sophia stopped at the kitchen door. "Isabella is at her dream school with a full scholarship she earned on her own. She doesn't need me to become a workaholic executive for me to be proud of her." After Sophia left with Oliver for the park, William stayed alone in the kitchen, thinking. He understood what she meant. He just couldn't quite grasp how someone could turn down opportunities like that. The phone rang again. This time William answered. "More recruiters?" "Hello, I'd like to speak with Sophia Sands, please. This is TED Talks. We'd like to invite her to give a lecture on disruptive innovation." "She's not interested," William interrupted. "But you didn't even ask?" "I don't have to. She wants a quiet life." "Thank you." William hung up and stared at the phone. A quiet life. When was the last time he had wanted that? By Friday, the calls had finally slowed. Sophia was in the living room, folding clothes, Oliver playing video games, when William appeared with a strange look on his face. "I got an interesting call today." "Another recruiter?" "No, it was the dean from the University of Washington. They want to create a scholarship in your name for low-income students interested in technology." Sophia stopped folding. "Really? Totally serious. The Sophia Sands Scholarship for Inclusive Innovation. They want your approval to use your name and story as inspiration." Sophia was quiet for a moment. "And what did you say?" "That you'd probably say no, but I'd pass along the message." Sophia sat down on the couch. "This is different." "Why?" "Because it's not about me. It's about other people like me. People who have intelligence, but no access." She looked at him. "I'll think about it." William smiled. "I thought you'd say that." On Saturday morning, William woke with an idea that made him smile for the first time in days. He went to Oliver's favorite pizza place, which he discovered was also Sophia's favorite, and bought a large margarita pizza. Then he stopped at a stationery store for a blank card. When he got home, Sophia was in the kitchen preparing lunch. Pizza for breakfast? She raised an eyebrow. It's not for breakfast. William set the box on the table beside an envelope. It's a job offer. Sophia looked at the box, then at him. William, open it. Inside the box, beside the golden pizza, was a handwritten note. Asterisk Sophia, formal job offer. Position, Creative Solutions Consultant at Tech Corp. Hours, 20 per week, fully flexible. Benefits, health insurance, 30 days vacation, free pizza whenever you want. Requirements, keep being exactly who you are. Work location, wherever you feel most comfortable. Boss, a guy learning that success without balance isn't success. If you change your mind, the spot's yours. And the pizza too. P.S. You can bring Oliver to the office anytime. We have a game room. Asterisk. William. Sophia read the note 3 times. Then looked at him. 20 hours a week, with total flexibility? If Oliver's sick, you work from home. If Isabella needs you, you take time off. If you want to travel, we'll make it work. And a very good but not ridiculous salary? Enough for you to feel financially secure without becoming a slave to money. William stepped closer. Sophia, I don't want to turn you into me. I want to learn how to be more like you. Sophia took a slice of pizza. What if I don't accept? Then you don't accept, and you stay the most important person in Oliver's life. And yours. Sophia chewed thoughtfully. This pizza is great. It's from Gina's. Oliver said it's your favorite. Really? She took another slice. William, yes. You said the most important person in your life. William felt his heart speed up. I did. Was that on purpose? Totally on purpose. Sophia smiled. Good to know. She finished her slice quietly. William waited, trying not to show his nervousness. All right, Sophia said finally. All right, what? I accept the job. She carefully folded the note. But with some conditions. Which ones? First, note introducing me as the former babysitter turned consultant. I'm Sofa. Period. Deal. Second, if you become an obsessive workaholic again, I'm out. Understood. Understood. Sophia stood and walked closer. About that kiss in the hallway. William's heart stopped. Yes. I'm still thinking about it. And Sophia smiled and kissed his cheek very slowly. You'll know when I'm done thinking. She stepped back, grabbed another slice of pizza, and left the kitchen humming. William stood there, fingers touching the spot where she'd kissed him, a silly smile spreading across his face. From down the hall, Oliver's voice carried. Daddy, why are you smiling alone again? Sophia said you've been doing that a lot lately. William laughed out loud. Because life is getting interesting, son. More interesting than pizza for breakfast? Way more interesting than pizza for breakfast. And for the first time in years, William Moore was absolutely certain he was on the right path. 6 months later, Sophia had settled perfectly into her new role at TechCorp. She worked 3 days a week at the office, 2 from home, and had managed to improve the efficiency of 5 different departments without ever working more than 6 hours straight. She's like she has a superpower, Marcus said during a meeting. Solves in 2 hours problems that took us days to understand. William smiled every time he heard comments like that. Sophia hadn't changed who she was. She'd simply found the right place to shine. And he was learning that leaving the office at 6 didn't make the world end. Oliver loved visiting the company on the days Sophia worked there. He had his own little corner in her office with books, games, and a computer where he helped solve problems by drawing solutions in different colors. Dad, Sophia says the blue code works better than the red code, he explained seriously at dinner. It's scientific. Of course it is, William agreed, sharing a playful look with Sophia. Their relationship had grown into something comfortable and warm. They hadn't officially defined anything, but they existed in a sweet dance of almost romance. Hands brushing accidentally. Looks lingering a few seconds too long. Conversations ending with meaningful smiles. Oliver had become an expert observer. When are you going to get married? He asked one Tuesday at breakfast. Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. William dropped his toast. Who said we're getting married? Sophia asked, recovering. No one. But you both make that in-love face adults make in movies. Oliver chewed thoughtfully. And you already live in the same house. And Dad smiles all the time now. And you leave him notes even when there's nothing to fix. William and Sophia exchange a glance. The observation from a 5-year-old was unnervingly accurate. Oliver, adult relationships are complicated, Sophia explained. Why? You like each other. Take care of each other. Make each other happy. Seems simple to me. From a child's mouth, thought William. 2 weeks later, William received an invitation that would change everything. TechCorp had been selected to present its innovations at the Global Technology Summit in San Francisco, the biggest event in the industry, with 5,000 participants from 50 countries. They want me to present our approach to inclusive innovation, he explained to Sophia, and I want you to come with me. As a consultant, he paused, weighing the word, partner. Professional partner. Co-presenter. Sophia smiled. Got it. And Oliver, he's coming with us. Family adventure. Work family. Family. You get it. I get it. Sophia laughed at how he stumbled over the words. And I accept. The Global Technology Summit was held at the Moscone Center, a massive complex in downtown San Francisco. William had presented there many times, but he'd never been quite this nervous. Not because of the 5,000 attendees or the camera streaming live worldwide, but because he had a plan. A plan he'd been carefully assembling for weeks. One that could go very well or very badly. Sophia looked flawless in a navy blazer that brought out her eyes, professional but approachable, purely her own style. Oliver sat in the front row wearing a special junior consultant badge Sophia had made for him. The presentation went perfectly. William spoke on disruptive innovation, Sophia on the importance of approaching problems from different perspectives, and together they demonstrated how small mindset shifts could lead to enormous outcomes. The audience was fully engaged, sharp questions, genuine applause, networking cards exchanged like confetti. To close, William said as the presentation neared its end, I want to say something personal. Sophia looked at him, surprised. This wasn't in the script. When I met Sophia, she was just my son's babysitter, William said, looking at her. I couldn't see past the labels I'd created myself. Babysitter, employee, someone without a college degree. The room went completely silent. But Sophia taught me that labels are limits we place on people and on ourselves. She didn't just save our system. She saved the way we think. William paused, looking directly into her eyes. She saved my heart. Sophia's eyes widened. What is he doing? William knelt on the stage. 5,000 people held their breath. Cameras zoomed in. Sophia Sands, he said, pulling a small laptop from his pocket. You changed my life. My son's life. The life of our company. You taught me that love, like innovation, happens when we stop following manuals and start following our hearts. He opened the laptop. On the screen, instead of code, a message. Will you be my co-CEO in life? And in the compartment where the battery normally sat, a ring. William, Sophia whispered, hands covering her mouth. I know you don't like big shows. I know you prefer simple, private moments. William smiled. But I wanted the whole world to know that you are the most extraordinary person I've ever met. The audience was utterly silent. 5,000 people watching a marriage proposal at a tech conference. So, William said, holding up the ring, Sophia Sands. Self-taught programmer. Solver of impossible problems. The woman who taught me that intelligence comes from the heart as much as the mind. Will you marry me? Sophia looked at him. At the ring. At the 5,000 people watching. At Oliver, standing in the front row shouting, say yes, Sophia. Then she did something thoroughly characteristic of her. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh. A genuine, joyful, free one. William Moore, she said, taking the microphone. You are completely insane. Is that a yes? Do you really think I'd say no after a proposal with a custom laptop at an international conference? So, Sophia knelt down too, meeting him at his level. Yes, I'll marry you. She took the ring and examined it. But only if I can keep sending you notes about your broken code. Always, William said, slipping the ring onto her finger. The crowd went wild. 5,000 people stood, applauding, cheering, whistling. Cameras flashing. People crying. a sea of collective happiness. But Sophia and William only had eyes for each other. "I love you," he said, finally voicing the words he'd been holding for months. "I love you too," she replied. "Since the day you laughed at my joke about memory leaks. That's when I knew it was true love." "He's here, dead," Oliver shouted from the front row, drawing another wave of laughter. And there, on the stage of the world's biggest tech event, before 5,000 witnesses and cameras broadcasting live around the globe, William Moore kissed Sophia Sands. A kiss that said everything that needed saying, about code and hearts, about problems solved and lives transformed, about love arriving when least expected and rewriting everything you thought you knew about yourself. When they finally separated, Sophia whispered, "Next time, warn me before you do public proposals." "Next time," William said, "is when we renew our vows in 50 years. Sophia smiled. "I want to be ready to give a worthy answer." William laughed, took her hand, and waved to the crowd, which kept applauding as if it might never stop. 3 months after the proposal in San Francisco, William's penthouse was being transformed into something he never imagined, a wedding venue. "Are you sure you want to get married at home?" he asked for the 10th time, watching Sophia direct the decoration operation with the precision of a general. "William, if you ask me that one more time, I'm putting an infinite loop into the company's system," Sophia replied, adjusting a floral arrangement. "Of course I'm sure. This is where our story began. This is where Oliver feels at home. This is where it makes sense." Isabella had arrived from Los Angeles the night before, radiant with happiness to see her older sister finally find someone who genuinely valued her. She and Oliver had become instant best friends, united by their shared mission to make the wedding perfect. "Sophia," Oliver said, appearing in a tuxedo several sizes too small. "My tie is trying to strangle me. Come here, little one." Sophia knelt to fix his tie. "You know, soon you'll have to call me stepmom, right? Can I still call you Sophia?" Oliver asked seriously. "Stepmom sounds too formal. You can call me whatever you want, as long as it's with love." "Then I'll call you Mom Sophia." Oliver smiled. "Because you're like a mom, but you're still my Sophia." Sophia felt tears welling. "Mom Sophia is perfect." At 4 in the afternoon, guests began arriving, a small celebration, just 40 people. Family, close friends, and a few colleagues who become part of their lives. Marcus arrived with his wife, still in disbelief that his workaholic boss was marrying the most level-headed consultant in the company. Hamilton appeared, clean, free of any juice stains, and surprisingly humble after the events of recent months. "Where's the bride?" asked the officiant, a cheerful woman Sophia had specifically chosen for being less formal than a traditional priest. "She's getting ready," William answered, nervously glancing down the hallway. At 4:15, Sophia appeared, and the room went silent. She was wearing her nanny uniform, the same simple blue uniform from her first day on the job, perfectly pressed, a small flower pin on the pocket. "Sophia," Isabella whispered in horror, "you're not getting married in your uniform." "Why not?" Sophia shrugged, walking calmly toward William. "It was in this outfit that I solved my first problem for him. It was in this outfit that he fell in love with me. It's the outfit of the woman he asked to marry him." William looked at her like she was the most beautiful thing in the world. "You look perfect. Are you sure?" Sophia did a small twirl. "Because I brought a backup outfit. You're perfect just like that." The officiant smiled. "Well, this is definitely the most unique ceremony I've ever performed. Shall we start?" The ceremony was simple and touching. They'd written their own vows, full of inside jokes that made everyone laugh. William promised never to try impressing Sophia with fake code again. Sophia promised to keep fixing his mistakes in programming and in life. When it came time for the rings, Oliver stepped forward carrying them on a small pillow he decorated himself with tiny drawings of computers and hearts. "With this ring," William said, sliding it onto Sophia's finger, "I promise you a life full of adventures, fixed code, and Sunday pizzas." "With this ring," Sophia replied, "I promise you infinite patience, funny notes, and unconditional love." "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant said. "You may kiss the bride." But Sophia raised a hand. "Wait just a minute." She ran to the bedroom, leaving everyone confused. 2 minutes later, she reappeared in an elegant, simple, stunning wedding dress that highlighted her natural beauty perfectly. "Now this is more like it," she said, smiling. "I wasn't going to let the wedding photos be all work uniform." The crowd laughed and applauded. William shook his head, smiling. "You're amazing." "I know." Sophia stepped closer. "Now kiss me properly, husband." And he did. A kiss that sealed not just a wedding, but a partnership that had transformed 2 lives and an entire company. The party unfolded exactly as planned. Relaxed, fun, full of unexpected moments. The food came from their favorite pizzeria. The music mixed jazz and reggaeton, and Oliver took over the dance floor with moves he swore he'd learned from educational videos. When it came time to toss the bouquet, Sophia had one last surprise. "Single ladies, come on up," she shouted. "But beware, no traditional bouquet today." She pulled out a gold USB drive, decorated with a white ribbon. "This contains all the code I fixed for William over these months. Whoever catches it gains special debugging powers." She threw the USB behind her. Isabella caught it, laughing. "I'm going to hack the college system and improve my grades." "That's illegal," Sophia shouted back, laughing. "I learned from the best." As the party wound down and guests began leaving, William and Sophia found themselves in the office, the place where it all began. "So, Mrs. Moore," William said, hugging her from behind as she sat at the computer, "how does it feel to be a married woman?" "The same. Except now, I can officially fix your code." Sophia turned in his arms. "And you, Mr. Moore, how does it feel to be a married man? Like I finally found my co-CEO for life." William kissed her forehead. "And look what I had framed for the office." He pointed to the wall, where an elegant plaque hung, words gleaming in gold letters. "Never underestimate a woman with a rag in her hand and a plan in her head." Sophia laughed out loud. "Perfect. But you know I'm going to demand my own office now, right? Already taken care of. Next door, with a park view, top-of-the-line computers, and a coffee maker only you know how to use. And a nameplate on the door? Sophia Sandsmore, official solver of impossible problems." "More." Sophia smiled. "I like the sound of that." They were quiet for a moment, looking out the window at Seattle lit up at night. The same view William had stared alone for years. But now everything felt different. More colorful, more alive, more complete. "Is Oliver asleep?" Sophia asked. "Like a rock." Isabella's reading to him. William smiled. "I think we gained 2 families today." "Definitely." Sophia settled closer into his arms. "William." "Yes." "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me. Really seeing me. Not what I did, but who I am." "Thank you," William answered. "For teaching me that life is so much more than work. That intelligence comes in many forms. And that love happens when we least expect it." Sophia smiled and looked at the plaque on the wall. "You know this phrase is going to become a legend at the company, right?" "I hope so." William kissed her again. "I want everyone who walks in here to know that great things can come from unexpected places. Like a nanny who solved a $300 million problem. Like an extraordinary woman who changed my whole life." And there, in the office where Sophia had fixed her very first piece of code, where they'd shared long talks about life and dreams, where a single kiss had changed everything, they began the first day of their lives as husband and wife. What did you think of Sophia and William's story? Leave your opinion in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to follow all our stories. And don't forget to watch more exciting stories by clicking here on the end screen.